What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Rethink Everything podcast. This is the first episode, and so we are beyond excited to introduce you to the Rethink Everything movement. What started as a simple book has now become a series that is quickly growing, that is tackling all industry, and it's also creating some really awesome friendships along the way. And so I am honored that for this first episode, really, it's this guy's fault. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, it is your fault that that this has all come about. And so there's nobody that could be in the co-pilot seat of episode number one than the man, the myth, the legend, Brian Vieaux. And so, dude, I am honored to have you help
Yeah.
me on episode one.
Well, thanks for thinking of me. I'm honored to be on the maiden voyage here of what I'm sure is gonna be an epic show, and I'll be sure to tune in going forward. But thanks for having me.
Heck yeah, man. So here, guys, here's what you can expect. The whole purpose of this podcast is to increase and expand the reach of the Rethink Everything movement, to bring people together, to get you to reconsider, to rethink what you think you know about any topic. And so you can see behind me, if you're watching the video version of this podcast, some of the different books that we have in the series. We've got another 15 or so books that are going to be coming out in 2026. And
Crazy.
so I'm going to tell you this right now. If you don't care about the backstory of Rethink Everything, just go to the next episode. We'll jump in to cooler conversations with creative and fun people. But I love, obviously, the story of how we got here, because I believe that anybody and everybody is capable of doing things bigger than themselves if they're just willing to say yes. And so for those of you that are new to this Rethink Everything thing, I'm Kyle Draper, the founder, the creator of Rethink Everything. Part of the reason we're here is because I wrote this purple book that is over my left shoulder. And the way this all came about is, I'm a man of faith, and so that matters in my life significantly. And so I was 3 years ago ish. I was in Mexico, sweating my butt off in the middle of the night, unable to sleep, and I felt like God told me to go sit on the balcony and write a book.
Hmm.
And I thought, excuse me, what? Did you mean this vision for someone else who's much smarter and better looking than me? Because that doesn't sound like my marching orders. But I went out, I sat on the balcony, and over the course of 2 more days in Mexico, I wrote the first 4 chapters of what would become Rethink Everything You Know About Social Media. And so I get home, Brian. I've got 4 chapters done. They're sitting on my computer. And I'm like, well, gosh dang it, I got to finish. And so I take 30 days, I write the rest of the book. I also own a virtual assistant company. And so I had access to an entire team of people that were able to put it all together, figure out Amazon, do all of the heavy lifting. And then, boom, I had a book. And I remember being like, yes, I'm done. It's over. Right. I did what I felt like I was supposed to do. And the purple book was born. And I I've never considered myself to be the smartest person in any room. And so what quickly happened is that people were like, dude, I love your new book, but I really love the title,
Yeah.
because we should always be rethinking what we think we know about anything. And so I'm now going, man, did I miss this? It, like, I just thought this was a book. Is this bigger than that? And it wasn't long after that thought that this random guy named Brian Vieaux, who I had no clue existed in our world, began to post every single day on LinkedIn about my book. And I'll let you jump in and kind of pick up the story.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's a great story, and it's what I would say, Kyle, when you talk about the Rethink Everything movement. I would add community because it's really become
Yeah.
a community, and that's probably the coolest thing I've seen come out of this whole thing is the community that's been formed around not just the Green Book that we'll get into, but every other book since then.
Right.
People have kind of added to it. But yeah, so it's probably a little over 2 years now. I get this purple book in the mail, and I get it. I open up the envelope, and there's a sticker on the front, a QR code sticker on the front. I violated every cybersecurity, rule known to man. I scan the QR code, a video pops up, and this guy says, "Hey, Brian, I've been following you on LinkedIn. I think your content's pretty cool. I think you'd be interested in this book. Hope you enjoy it, Scott." And I'm like, "What? Who's Scott? Who's this guy?" Turns out, Scott. You
Oh yeah.
you and Scott go back even further than
Scott Payne, shout out.
me getting this book from Scott, and he actually, he got you to sign it and everything. And so I get the book, and I think I got it on a Friday, and on Saturday I just I opened it up and I started thumbing through it. Next thing I know, in about, under an hour, I read it cover to cover. Thank you for the pictures and QR codes along the way.
That's
Uh,
right.
Something kind of clicked as I was reading the book because I was like in my LinkedIn journey, but not in the journey. Like I was getting into it more and more. And one of the takeaways that I got out of it was, showing up on video because I hadn't been doing that really consistently before, going through this book. And so, to your point, I started taking screenshots of pages and then would post that as an image just with my own kind of, book report, if you will, on that page, and then how I was using it in my own LinkedIn journey. And I don't know, it was probably like 6 or 7 days of a 15 days straight posting streak I was on. You DM'd me and you're like, "Hey man, I don't know who you are, but," and I stopped reading. I'm like, "Oh, I just screwed this guy up. No one's buying his book because they're reading it." Here's my ego kicking in. They're all reading they're all reading my post, right?
Yeah.
And you said, "But I appreciate you, loving on my book. Thank you so much." And pretty sure like within 2 days we were on a phone call, you know, getting to know each other, and you shared the story of how the idea came to you, the vision came to you, and how you wrote this thing. And at that point, you had already kind of had some clarity around this thing becoming bigger than one purple book. And I remember leaving that conversation thinking, "Man, this guy's got it figured out." But I didn't. At that point, I didn't know where I fit in. And probably like 2 nights later, it hit me that you know the mortgage industry needed to rethink everything about how we
Right.
interface with the next generation home buyer. Right at that point, 2+ years ago, everyone was saying the same things. It was tired. It was boring. It was ineffective. And so, I reached out and said, "I think I've got the idea for your next book." And you're like, "No, no, no, man, it's not my next book. This would be our book." And, fast forward to the green book right here over my shoulder, published in it'll be 2 years this February, I think, or this March. 37, experts came together and each, penned a chapter. And this is where this is where I saw the power of community really come together. Because a
Yeah.
lot of the people that you and I asked to write chapters hadn't met you or me or vice versa,
Yeah.
hadn't met each other. And, that thing published, I remember we did a LinkedIn live, like a 3 hour LinkedIn live where we just had all the authors kind of coming on and, sharing their story. And I just, that it clicked right there that mm, we were onto something with the green book, but you were onto something much bigger with the Rethink Everything brand and the concept, and then the community that would be coming behind that.
Yeah. And you know, you you can never expect to happen what happened, which was, watching men and women that didn't know each other, that maybe had heard of one another from the industry, but we've watched like lifelong friends
Yeah.
take place through these books. We've watched new business endeavors happen because of these books. We've watched people that I would say were on the verge of leaving their industry
Yeah.
and just starting over, you know, stick around, and not only stick around but thrive because of what this community did. And we've also seen a friend, like pass on into the next life. And man, because of this series, like there's kind of a memorial for her
Right.
that no matter how many years go by since she left this earth, there will always be a piece of her that exists
Yeah.
inside the green book in the series. And so this entire thing is about people, or that's what this is about. And so my hope, Brian, is that this is going to spur on each of the books that have already come before us. I hope that this encourages listeners and watchers of this show to reach out and go, "Hey, I've got a book on my heart that I want to write. I would love to bring a group of people together like Brian did, and talk about this subject." You know, that's what's going to happen in the coming years. And my vision for this, I'm 43 years old. That's the first time I've said that out loud. My it was last week. And so I'm 43 years old. I've never seen anybody live in the space that Book for Dummies lives in.
Mm. Yeah.
I mean, they're the go-to how to do anything. And I'm just not a big fan of calling people dummies as the way to get them to pay attention. And so my hope is that this becomes the new age book for dummies, that we get hundreds of books into this thing because we've developed a new way to love and serve people, to educate people, to give them new opportunities, new paths to think through. And we get to build community with one another while we do it. And man, we've got quite a lineup lined up for 2026. And we're gonna be jumping into the craft beer space with one of our books,
Love that.
which is gonna be incredible. And and so if we're gonna write hundreds and hundreds of these books, we got to pretty much tackle any subject matter that is out there and ever been talked about. And so whether you've got something that feels common or you've got something that seems weird, there is a place for you
That's right.
inside of the Rethink Everything series.
Yeah, what's been cool, Kyle, is watching people that you would never have thought would have written a book, not because they're not smart enough, but maybe because they didn't, they weren't confident enough.
Yeah.
It's a vulnerable process to,
Yeah.
put your name on a book, publish it, and then, hope somebody other than your mom and great aunt buy it, right? And
That's
and,
right.
and and so it's been cool to watch the people that have come after us in the Green Book, do the exact same thing and kind of, put themselves out there. And um, I'm excited for the series that's ahead. I know there's a cool consumer facing, like a first time home buyer type book that's
Yep.
close to publishing. That's super exciting. Um, I think I always go into in the mortgage industry, and I think about, you should do this, you should do that, and I love how you've thought well beyond housing and real estate. I mean, you've already hit, several industries, and who knew there was a craft beer, rethink everything you know about craft beer book, but can't wait for
Not
that.
me. I didn't. And and I think um we'll break this on the first episode of the podcast. You know, since the beginning of the year will be 2 years since the Green Book, we should probably go ahead and say that we're gonna get volume 2 of the Green Book out before 2026 is over.
Here we go. Let's do it.
And so I hope you're ready
I'm ready.
to go on ride number 2, because man, as many people were in that book, there's 1,000 more people that could have also been in that book that just didn't happen to have their shoulder tapped. And so I'm excited for volume two with a brand new cast full of brilliant people. And man, we're also we're doing a mentorship book that's coming out at the beginning of the year. We're doing a recruiting book that will be coming out in the first quarter of the year. We've got a think about this. I've partnered with our church, and we did a 14-week study on who is Jesus.
Mm,
And my church has allowed me to we've basically taken all 14 video sermons, used ChatGPT to rewrite them in the voice of each of the people that were preaching.
yeah,
And so we will put out a book in 2026 called Rethink Everything You Know About Jesus. And it'll be our first book in the spiritual world.
right.
And so we're stretching this thing
I
out.
love it.
We're going in all different directions. And man, just like writing the purple book and even the green book, I remember looking at both of them going, is anybody going to care? Is anybody, is,
Yeah,
is anyone going to validate why we poured our blood, sweat, and tears into this? And it's the exact same thing I'm thinking at the end of this first episode.
yeah.
Is anybody going to watch? Is anybody going to listen? And I'm believing that a lot of people will. And I'm excited to hear the stories of life change, of community, the relationships that come from it, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, Kyle, you remember this, but, you and I and you told this story, on stage a few times, but, you and I had, a joint bank account before we ever met each other in real life.
That's right.
And I think we were in DC, in
Yeah.
Washington, DC, or just outside of DC,
Yep.
um, for, an event, and I remember that awkward, bear hug in the lobby of the hotel when we, met each other in real life for that first time. But
So good.
it really speaks to the power of social
Yeah.
media in particular, and the power of, getting on video like we're doing right now. And I've seen you give this talk so many times, and I'm a firm believer that, whatever we do on this virtual video screen, it is real life. Our brains don't know any different,
That's it.
right? You
That's it.
preach that all
I
the
don't.
time.
Yep.
And that day in the lobby proved that, right? It was like, you know, 2 long lost brothers, of course, one significantly younger than the other. Um,
Uh, Come on, I'm catching up.
well, that's not a good thing. No, I don't
I
want you to
mean,
catch up.
as we get older, the percentage that you're older than me gets smaller,
That's true. I'll take that.
you know?
I will
So,
take that.
guys, thank you for tuning in to episode number one. We can't wait for you to listen to more. Please, if you're brand new, go to Amazon, go search Rethink Everything, go check out the 9 books that we have available already, with more coming. We've got a website coming. The Rethink Everything movement is moving quick, and we're honored to have you a part of it. Brian, love you, dude.
Love you
Thanks for
too,
being
brother.
on number one. And you'll see him back. He'll be hosting some future episodes. We'll see y'all on the next one.